in an unprecedented attack. I've been in touch with the Polish Prime Minister this morning to make clear our support for Poland, and will stand firm in our support for Ukraine. With our partners and through our leadership of the coalition willing, we will continue to ramp up the pressure on Putin until there's a just and lasting peace. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Just to say to the House, I've sent a letter on behalf of Parliament, a letter of condolence to the royal family on behalf of the sad news of the Duchess of Kent. Right, let us come back to Dr. Luke Evans.
Here, 1 year on, the country's seen a Transport Secretary resign over fraud, an anti-corruption minister investigated for corruption, a homelessness minister make tenants homeless, and a housing secretary not pay tax on her second house. Prime Minister, we've also had a Prime Minister who accepted more freebies than any other MP in the last Parliament. Is this the integrity he meant when he came to government?
Well, Mr. Speaker, here's the difference. I strengthened the ministerial code. I strengthened the independent adviser. The Deputy Prime Minister referred herself to the adviser. It was a clear finding, and she did the right thing. Mr. Speaker, contrast that with the Shadow Foreign Secretary. She was found to have broken the code under the last government. What did the Prime Minister do then, Mr. Speaker? He ignored that. There was a resignation, but that was the resignation of the adviser, not the person who was found to have breached the code. And she still sits on their front bench. That is the difference.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After almost 2 decades of the SNP and 14 years of the Tories, Kirkcaldy High Street has been in a state of decline.
Won't be in this chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After almost 2 decades of the SNP and 14 years of the Tories, Kirkcaldy High Street has been in a state of decline. That's why the Chancellor was right to prioritise Kirkcaldy for multi-million-pound regeneration funding from the new Growth Mission Fund to build on the enormous potential of our town and beautiful seafront. Does the Prime Minister agree that investment over decline is key to this Labour government, and will he ask the new Business Secretary to meet with me to discuss this funding?
Well, I thank her for her question. She's been a tireless campaigner for investment into High Street. Mr. Speaker, I can give her good news because, thanks to funding committed by the Chancellor and this Labour government, I can confirm today that, subject to business case approval, we will approve millions to transform Kirkcaldy's High Street and seafront. And I will, of course, make sure she gets the meeting she wants with the Business Secretary. The SNP have squandered the potential of these high streets for 2 decades. Next year, people can vote for positive change with a Scottish Labour government.
We come to the Leader of the Opposition, can we bear or not?
Mr. Speaker, can I associate myself with the comments the Prime Minister made about the Duchess of Kent? She lived an exemplary life of public service, and she will be very much missed. And I also agree with the Prime Minister, as should all of us in this House. We stand shoulder to shoulder with Poland and all our NATO allies against Putin's aggression. A NATO country has just had to defend itself against Russian drones. Now, more than ever, we need our ambassador to Washington fully focused on this issue and liaising closely with America. Does the Prime Minister have full confidence in Peter Mandelson?
Mr. Speaker, let me start by saying the victims of Epstein are the forefront of our minds. He was a despicable criminal who committed the most heinous crimes and destroyed the lives of so many women and girls. The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
This is interesting, Mr. Speaker. He says the ambassador has expressed full regret, but the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein have called for Lord Mandelson to be sacked. And just so the House is aware, in 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of child prostitution and sex trafficking that took place between 2002 and 2005. That is the precise period which Lord Mandelson called Jeffrey Epstein his best pal. Was the Prime Minister aware of this intimate relationship when he appointed Lord Mandelson to be our ambassador in Washington?
Mr. Speaker, as she and the House would expect, full due process was followed during this appointment, as it is with all ambassadors. The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret. He is right to do so. He's now playing an important part in the US-UK relationship.
Mr. Speaker, I asked the Prime Minister if he knew. The fact that he didn't answer indicates that he probably did know. I wasn't asking a question about process. I was asking a question about his judgment. The Daily Telegraph reports today that while Lord Mandelson was Business Secretary, he brokered a deal with Jeffrey Epstein while he was Business Secretary, and that this occurred after Epstein had been convicted of child sex offences. Given this new information, does the Prime Minister really think it is tenable for our ambassador to remain in post?
Mr. Speaker, the relationship between the US and the UK is one of our foremost relationships, and I have confidence in the ambassador in the role that he is doing.
Mr. Speaker, I think it is embarrassing that the Prime Minister is still saying that he has confidence in a man who was brokering deals with convicted child sex offenders while sitting in government. That is a disgrace. This government has repeatedly refused to declare Lord Mandelson's full interests. And as part of the appointment, there will have been extensive government vetting, including details and timings of Peter Mandelson's dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. So will the Prime Minister publish all these documents, including those about his interests?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I say, full due process was gone through in relation to this appointment, as would be expected. As for the publication of documents, as she well knows, that's subject to a procedure which includes an independent element. It's subject to the usual procedure.
The Prime Minister cannot answer any questions. That is not the behaviour of someone who has full confidence. The ambassador should be in the White House talking about how we respond to an incursion into NATO airspace. Instead, he is giving interviews about himself to The Sun. This is a man who already had to be removed from cabinet twice, and now we learned that he was brokering billion-pound deals with Jeffrey Epstein while Business Secretary. I didn't get a proper answer. He's talking about process. This is not about process. This is about judgment. Just last week, I told him that he should sack his Deputy Prime Minister. They all cheered and congratulated themselves. She was gone 2 days later. His face too is broken, and he's got a totally new front bench. So I will ask him again, will he make sure that these documents are published, and will he actually instruct Peter Mandelson to publish all his correspondence with Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, she says the ambassador should be in the White House discussing NATO. He is, as we all are, with a number of international calls this morning and on Ukraine, as well as the attack in Doha yesterday. Mr. Speaker, I see she's finally catching up with the questions that she should have asked last week about the Deputy Prime Minister. In the meantime, Mr. Speaker, we have been opened up a new schools-based nursery. On Monday, we had the Defence Industrial Strategy. On Tuesday, we published NHS league tables to push up standards. We reopened Doncaster and Sheffield Airport yesterday. And today, we've set out how we're repairing the concrete in our hospitals.
A load of waffle and whataboutery, Mr. Speaker. All they are interested right now is their pointless deputy leadership election while the country is out there suffering from an economic crisis. The Prime Minister has an ambassador mired in scandal, not focusing on NATO. He lost his Deputy Prime Minister just last week for evading taxes. He's got a new Home Secretary, a new Foreign Secretary, just learning the ropes, not able to help with this issue. We have strikes crippling our capital city and damaging our economy. He could use minimum service legislation, which we introduced, to make the lives of the people out there better, but he won't, because he does not have the backbone to face down the unions. The unions are running this government. All the deputy leadership candidates are chasing after them. And while with this government it is more strikes, more scandal, more chaos. And the link, Mr. Speaker, isn't the link between all of this his bad decisions, his bad judgment, and his total weakness.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, our Deputy Leader contest started this week and ends on the 25th of October. Their leadership contest has been going on for months and will continue for a very long time. And all this noise from the arsonists whilst we're putting out the fires that they left behind. Interest rates and waiting lists, Mr. Speaker, down. Wages, investment and deportations up. And now we're stepping up defence spending, creating new jobs, driving up standards in our NHS and rebuilding our crumbling schools and hospitals. This is a government of patriots fighting for working people.
Tom Rutland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Labour government is getting our NHS back on its feet with 20,000 fewer patients on waiting lists at my local trust since the election. But there is still more to do, including making it easier to see a GP. So can the Prime Minister set out how this government will give my constituents in East Worthing and Shoreham access to the healthcare that they deserve?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased we've made progress on the NHS. We promised 2 million extra appointments in the first year of a Labour government. We've delivered not 2, not 3, but over 4 million extra appointments, with 2,000 extra GPs and clearing up the dangerous rack in our hospitals. The National League tables, Mr. Speaker, that we published this week will make sure that investment goes where it's needed most, and our 10-year health plan will see neighbourhood health centres in every community to treat patients closer to home. There's more to do, but we've made a lot of progress.
Sir Ed Davey, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join the Prime Minister in sending our condolences to His Majesty and the royal family on the death of the Duchess of Kent? And can I echo the Prime Minister's condemnation of Netanyahu's attacks on Qatar? These are not the actions of a leader truly focused on getting hostages home, and I hope the Prime Minister will say that directly to President Herzog later today. On Suicide Prevention Day, Mr. Speaker, can I thank all working to prevent suicides, from professionals to charities like the Samaritans. Mr. Speaker, when I talk to parents of disabled children, there's one complaint about government that comes up time and again. All the hoops they must jump through, from EHCPs to the DWP to HMRC. Caring is exhausting enough without all the forms and rules that show no understanding of the realities of life as a carer. It's something Emily and I know well. It's something that our former Deputy Prime Minister brought attention to last week. So will the Prime Minister work with carers across this House to overhaul systems for family carers so government works much better for people looking after their loved ones?
Well, I do agree with him. There are too many hurdles and too many hoops that have to be gone through, and that's why we're simplifying the system, and we will, of course, work across the House with all those who want to achieve that outcome. Can I also just thank those dealing with suicide prevention? I think probably everybody in this House knows someone who has taken their life, and it touches all of us, and we must do everything we can together to prevent suicide.
Sir Ed Davey.
Moving on, Mr. Speaker, as the Leader of the Opposition said, Lord Mandelson has admitted to continuing his relationship long after Epstein was convicted, and that there are more embarrassing details we don't yet know. Mr. Speaker, people will be surprised by the Prime Minister giving Ambassador Mandelson such strong support today. So can he tell the House, has the Prime Minister asked the Ambassador what other compromising material the Trump administration might have on him as he leads Britain's negotiations with the White House?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I've made clear to the House, a full due process was gone through when the appointment was made.
George Newbury.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent Connor Edwards lives with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and craniocervical instability, which in his words means his head is slowly falling off his body. Having once enjoyed fishing and mountain biking, at the age of 30, Connor's now largely bedbound and says his condition has destroyed his quality of life. He's also having to crowdfund for treatment in Spain because the NHS can't give him the help he needs. Could the Prime Minister ensure that myself, Connor and EDS charities get a meeting with the Minister to discuss what more we can do to give thousands of people like Connor their freedom back?
Mr. Speaker, I've read through the details of Connor's case that's just been summarised. It is heartbreaking. I do thank my honourable friend for consistently campaigning and championing all of those that are affected. I will make sure that he gets the meetings that he needs so we can hear from Connor and others and learn from their experience.
Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, Gaza is a graveyard, but rather than end arms sales, extend sanctions and stand by international law, the Prime Minister will today welcome into his home, a home entrusted to him by the people of these Isles, the man who called for the collective punishment of the Palestinian people and who signed the artillery shells that destroyed their homes, their families and their friends. A man who will ignore every word the Prime Minister says. Would he invite Vladimir Putin into number 10? Would he invite Benjamin Netanyahu into number 10? What does it say of this Prime Minister that he will harbour this man whilst children starve?
Mr. Speaker, for the record, we have suspended arms that could be used in Gaza, we have sanctioned extremists, and we suspended trade talks. But the point he raised is a very serious one. We all want an outcome that ensures peace, that the hostages get out, that aid gets in, and there's a two-state outcome. It is the only way we will get peace in a region that has suffered conflict for a very, very long time. I will not give up on diplomacy. That is the politics of students.
Bill Esterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's talk about fracking. It contaminates the water table. It causes air pollution. The test drilling in Lancashire led to earthquakes. So will the Prime Minister stand up to the climate deniers? Will he ban fracking once and for all? And does he agree that those who are backing it are supporting fracking stupid reform?
Mr. Speaker, we will ban fracking for good. And let's be absolutely clear, the biggest risk to energy prices is staying hooked onto volatile international fossil fuel markets. And in stark contrast to reform, they're ignoring local communities, they're putting green jobs and investment at risk, and committing to higher bills by warning renewable companies not to invest. That is shocking.
Simon Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A few short weeks ago, a constituent of mine died in a tragic fire at the Lady Bailey Residential Park in Winterbourne, Whitechurch. That was attended by 50 Dorset and Wiltshire firefighters and others. This summer alone, 900 grassland, woodland and crop fires have equalled the busiest year on record for that fire service. I extend my thanks to all of them for all that they do. He will be aware that rural funding is always an issue, and the funding of the delivery of rural services is always a challenge. Would he arrange for a meeting with the relevant minister in the Home Office for the senior officials at that fire service and me to meet to discuss the needs of our rural area to ensure that my constituents and those across the counties of Dorset and Wiltshire are kept as safe as they possibly can be?
Can I say I'm very sorry to hear about the particular case that he raises, and I'm sure the thoughts of the whole House with the friends and family of the constituent that he's referenced. And our thoughts are actually with all of those affected, particularly farmers, and I want to join him in thanking our firefighters who've worked tirelessly to keep people safe. We have provided Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue Authority with an increased budget of almost £75 million, but I will make sure that he gets the meeting that he asks for to ensure that we can properly support our firefighters and protect our farmland.
John Trickett.
Thank you, sir. And this morning I spoke to the parents of a young man who's unemployed in my constituency. There are 20 people on the dole in my area for every job that's been advertised. Unemployment is a personal crisis and a social crisis. Will the Prime Minister join with me in reminding the House that unemployment is not a price worth paying, which the opposition party clearly believes? And will the Prime Minister indicate that he will break with the failed economic orthodoxy which suggests that such a thing is true?
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased that the employment rate is up, inactivity is down, and we've created over 380,000 jobs since we've been in power. Mr. Speaker, going further, as a proud Yorkshireman, he will know and he will welcome the reopening of Doncaster Sheffield Airport just yesterday, made possible by the decisions that we've made. That's a Labour mayor working with a Labour government to create jobs across the country.
Mr. Speaker, 51 Israeli arms companies are exhibiting at the DSEI Arms Fair in London this week. Some of them even boast that their products are battle-tested. We all know what that means, used to kill men, women and children. So this government often asks us what more we expect them to do when it comes to Gaza. Here's one. Will the Prime Minister stop Israeli arms dealers from parading their Gaza-tested weapons on UK soil?
Mr. Speaker, we have very clear and strict rules in relation to this, and we have taken action in relation to arms sales.
Ruth Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I thank the Prime Minister for his sympathy and words of condolence regarding the sudden and untimely death of Hebyn David, our Welsh member of the Senedd for Caerphilly. His contributions over the last 18 years as a councillor and a member of the Senedd since 2016 were always relevant, witty and incisive. And our thoughts are with his partner and his family. Now, Drone Evolution is a manufacturer based in Caerphilly, and Airbus and Newport West are just two of the companies that will benefit from Labour's investment in defence. So can I welcome this new defence industrial strategy and ask the Prime Minister to update the House on how the new defence growth zones will create more jobs across Wales and beyond?
Well, Mr. Speaker, Hebyn was a proud Welshman and champion for Caerphilly. And we send our love and support to his partner Vicky, his daughters, to his family and his friends. Wales does have a thriving defence sector, and I'm delighted it will host one of our new defence growth zones. That's investing £250 million to make defence an engine for jobs and growth across the United Kingdom. That's what you get, Mr. Speaker, when you have a Labour government in both Cardiff and Westminster working together to deliver for Wales.
Andrew Rossendale.
Mr. Speaker, sir, my local borough commander in Romford tells me how much valuable police time is being wasted investigating trivial social media posts and non-crime hate incidents. Shouldn't the police be patrolling our streets rather than moderating the internet, Mr. Speaker? So, will the Prime Minister commit to urgently updating the Public Order Act to reflect the realities of the digital age so that our police are focused on tackling real crime and upholding freedom of speech rather than suppressing it?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've been clear on a number of occasions. I do want the police to concentrate on serious crime and on crime that matters most to our communities in each of our constituencies. I've said that before and I'll say it again today.
Adam Jogi.
Thank you very much, Mr. People in Crackley and Bradwell and White Cross and Newcastle underline are sick and tired of antisocial behaviour going untackled. I welcome the government's commitment to taking back our streets, but we need action. So will he join me in urging the Conservative Police Commissioner in Staffordshire to use the resources that he's been given to support our local police and to finally get a grip so my constituents can live their lives free of hassle and, most importantly, safely?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the party opposite decimated neighbourhood policing. People should feel safe in their communities, and that's exactly why I've committed to putting 13,000 additional police personnel back in our town centres and communities. That means, Mr. Speaker, there'll be a named police officer in every community, armed with tough new respect orders to break up antisocial behaviour. And these powers are contained in our crime and policing bill, which the party opposite and Reform voted against.
Mark Richard.
His Majesty's Prison Stoke Heath in Shropshire has seen 6 deaths in custody in less than 2 years. That is above the national average. Will the Prime Minister join me in calling upon the Ministry of Justice to ensure that there are enough resources and the right governance is in place at Stoke Heath?
The Secretary of State for Justice will look into this and take up the suggestion, and I'll arrange for a meeting as soon as possible.
Simon Offer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Vaccinations were invented in Berkeley, in my constituency, 230 years ago, and as a GP, I have jabbed literally thousands of children and adults. Would the Prime Minister update the House about our new rollout of chickenpox vaccinations, which will further protect our children? And would he also agree with me to condemn other political parties that give platforms for people who spread false rumours about vaccination?
Well, my honourable friend speaks with great authority, and I'm proud that Labour are protecting 500,000 children by rolling out the chickenpox vaccines. In stark contrast, the man who wrote Reform's health policy has made shocking and baseless claims that vaccines are linked to cancer. And that's been endorsed by Reform leader. They laugh. They laugh at it. These dangerous conspiracies cost lives, and it shows that Reform can't be trusted with our NHS.
Charlotte Key.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Seneca Solar Farm, which runs through my constituency, was given permission by this government, and there are more solar farm applications in the pipeline. My constituents are concerned that these are being made without a land use framework, which would have provided reassurances that the competing demands for land are balanced effectively. Will the Prime Minister make a commitment to give the land use framework statutory weight to ensure that land is used strategically to get the best for new, clean, renewable energy, which genuinely benefits communities and for farmers, nature, water and housing?
Mr. Speaker, it is important that we move to renewables in order to have energy independence and to keep our bills down, and this will benefit lots of communities, including her own. I do want to reassure her constituents that we will, of course, follow process and that they will always have a say in any decisions that we make.
David Pinto-Chichinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The leasehold system is fundamentally broken. Thousands of leaseholders in Hendon are getting a raw deal, paying ever-rising service charges for ever poorer service. It's why I welcome the government's commitment to end the feudal system of leasehold once and for all. Will the Prime Minister share with the House what action this government is taking to help leaseholders and bring in a system of common hold?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the last government shattered the dream of home ownership. We are reforming the outdated system so leaseholders receive stronger rights, powers and protections. We will bring to the end the feudal leasehold system, reinvigorate common hold and deliver the biggest boost to social and affordable housing in a generation.
Dr Al Pinkerton.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since May, my Surrey Heath constituent, Sue, has received thousands of pounds worth of fines after a criminal gang in London cloned her number plate and went on a rampage through the capital. In an age of increasingly sophisticated digital security, the number registration system seems like a remarkably analogue anachronism, is ripe for abuse and is failing drivers. Will the Prime Minister look at my presentation bill laid last week, pick it up, and strengthen legislation, ensure police services have the tools they require to tackle this growing crime and to protect law-abiding motorists?
Well, can I say I'm sorry to hear about his constituent. That's an awful situation for anyone to find themselves in. I'll, of course, look at his bill.
Dr Rupert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure the Prime Minister recalls visiting the Ukrainian community of Acton with me soon after Putin's illegal invasion. They still fondly do, and they wanted me to ask him, next week at Trump's state visit, can he harness his unique role with US influence and the coalition of the willing in Europe to the max and redouble all efforts to find a just peace with security guarantees for them and war crimes punished so that we can end this war that's gone on far too long?
I do recall the visit. It was extremely good and very welcoming. And our support for Ukraine, Mr. Speaker, remains unwavering. And the attack last night in Poland shows that Putin's belief that he can somehow act with impunity. And that's why we're working so hard with the coalition of the willing to ensure that there are security guarantees as we go forward, made real progress in recent weeks. We must continue to ramp up the pressure on Putin.
Terrible.
Mr. Speaker. Today is the 10th annual Back British Farming Day. And given the Prime Minister is so keen on resets in recent weeks, will he reset his relationship with our farmers and reverse the family farm tax?
Well, Mr. Speaker, let me tell you what we're doing. We're working with the former president of the National Farmers Union, Baroness Minette Batters, to review farm profitability. Mr. Speaker, this is the key issue. We are delivering the 25-year farming roadmap, and of course we've struck a deal with the EU, which is of great benefit to farmers, which of course they all say they will reverse. Mr. Speaker, that's on top of the £5 billion that we put into farming in our last budget.
Final question, Liz Twist.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is World Suicide Prevention Day. It can be scary to talk about suicide, but we need to. So many of our constituents will know or love someone who has taken their own life, or they may have suicidal thoughts themselves. But suicide is not inevitable, it's preventable, and everyone has a role to play in saving lives. So will the Prime Minister reaffirm this government's commitment to preventing deaths by suicide and say how the government is tackling this vital issue?
Mr. Speaker, can I start by thanking her and paying tribute to her for her work as my PPS for the last 14 months. She has worked tirelessly with huge commitment and respect across the whole of this House. In relation to suicide prevention, I think this is something that matters to everybody in this House. I will reaffirm our commitment, and I'll work across the House with all members to deal with suicide prevention.
We'll let the front benches change over. We now come to the urgent question. Callum Miller.
Speaker, to ask the Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs to make a statement on the implications of Israel's strike in Gaza for peace and stability in the Middle East and on UK foreign policy.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the UK government is deeply concerned by Israel's strike in Doha yesterday. As the House heard a few minutes ago from the Prime Minister, he and the Foreign Secretary have condemned these flagrant violations of Qatar's sovereignty, which will set back the cause for peace and risk further escalation in the region. The Prime Minister spoke to the Emir of Qatar to express the UK's solidarity and support and to reaffirm our shared commitment to regional stability. The Prime Minister also gave his condolences for the death of a Qatari security officer killed in the attack. Sadly, Qatar's Ministry of Interior has overnight confirmed the death of a second person. Qatar is playing a critical role, Mr. Speaker, in mediating this conflict, driving efforts to secure a ceasefire and to facilitate vital humanitarian access to Gaza. That must remain the priority. This government continues to support them in their efforts to push for an immediate ceasefire, for the release of all hostages cruelly detained by Hamas, for the protection of civilians, and the unrestricted flow of aid into Gaza as the vital first steps towards long-term peace and stability. This is the only way to achieve lasting peace and security for Palestinians and Israelis alike. That is why we are working with partners to develop a framework for peace that addresses governance, security, humanitarian access and political reform. Negotiation, not more violence, is the way to achieve that. We are actively working together with our international partners, including the G7 and the UN Security Council, to coordinate efforts aimed at de-escalation and reiterate our full support for the sovereignty of Qatar. Earlier this week, the Prime Minister met with President Abbas to discuss the intolerable situation in Gaza, the need for an urgent solution to end horrific suffering and famine, and the Palestinian Authority's reform agenda, vital for a two-state solution. Today, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister will meet President Herzog of Israel and reiterate the UK's grave concern following yesterday's strikes, and reiterate that man-made famine in Gaza must end and the renewed offensive in Gaza must not happen. We will continue to push for a political resolution to end this conflict and strive towards a lasting peace.
Alan Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for granting this application for an urgent question, and I'm grateful to the Minister for his statement. Last night's Israeli strikes against Hamas officials in Gaza heralded a new and grave escalation in this terrible conflict. Prime Minister Netanyahu's willingness to strike Doha will undermine efforts to secure the release of the hostages still held in Hamas captivity and set back the path to a desperately needed ceasefire. Liberal Democrats have called for more diplomatic pressure to be placed on Hamas by the Qataris, including with the threat to exile Hamas's leadership from Doha unless we see the immediate and unconditional release of the remaining hostages. That is the kind of diplomatic pressure which must be brought to bear. Instead, the Israeli government has chosen a path which even President Trump, Netanyahu's biggest cheerleader, appears appalled by. And let me be clear, Liberal Democrats support the right of the State of Israel to exist and its right, like all nations, to defend itself. Yet Israel has obligations under international law and duties to its allies, both of which it has breached. Can the Minister confirm whether any UK entity, including the Joint Command at the Al Udeid base, were informed by Israel of the attack in advance? Can the Minister confirm that, in addition to what he's already said, that in his meeting with President Herzog today, the Prime Minister will condemn yesterday's attack in the strongest possible terms and make clear that the UK views this as a flagrant breach of international law? Last night's strikes are, of course, inseparable from the ongoing humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. They further eroded our collective hope for an end to the suffering of both Gazans and the hostages. And so it is time for meaningful action by this government. Will the Minister confirm that the UK will take the steps necessary today to end the export of F-35 parts to Israel? And in light of the further egregious breaches of international law directed by Netanyahu overnight, will he confirm that President Netanyahu will be sanctioned?
Mr. Speaker, as you would expect, I won't be commenting on sanctions from the dispatch box, as is our usual practice. The Prime Minister set out to this House his intentions for his meeting with President Herzog. Later, I can confirm that the Foreign Secretary met with President Herzog this morning and raised these points among a range of others, including the urgent need both to ensure aid into Gaza, but for further Israeli support to British efforts to medically evacuate injured children and fully funded scholarships to the UK.
Tom, Chair of the Select Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. What happened overnight illustrates a huge problem that the new Foreign Secretary is going to need to deal with, and I'm pleased that the Minister will ably be helping her. But the problem is this. There is an emboldened far-right Israeli government who believe that they can do whatever they like and there won't be any consequences.
That's right. Yeah,
and on the other hand, we have a country like Qatar who is genuinely working towards peace. I know the Minister has met the ministers. I have met them too. They couldn't be more sincere in the efforts that they're making, and they get bombed for their efforts. The question really is, for the new Foreign Secretary, is how can we make sure that we aren't just bystanders and are actually playing an active role in dealing with this issue? And in what way will the Prime Minister be able to convey such a message to President Herzog this afternoon?
I thank my right honourable friend for the